Hariom, Dr. Renu. Yeah, Nana's doing fine. He's doing well.
Both of them are okay. Just
Both of
with
them are
our
fine.
pranam to that pranam.
Om. 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 Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Shruti-smriti-purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Loka-shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badaraya Sutra-bhashya-kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashivasamaramбhaं Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-parampara Vande Guru-parampara Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudiraye. Oh, this is, we stopped at Shloka 12, isn't it?
Did 14 shloka.
Was it
Last.
14?
Yeah.
Okay, I think
Last.
we went. Just give me a second. 3. Yeah, we did this, no? Yajna Shishta Chinasanto and all that. Restitution is always according to the action performed. It was 14, I think. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava. Yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhava.
Did the 14 shloka, yes.
14th,
Last.
isn't it? We stopped at 14. We thought
Yeah.
we'll do a little manana on this. We didn't have enough time for this, for the manana. So maybe what I will do, we did even 15. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. This also we did. This was a little heavy for us, the knowledge aspect and how Veda is Brahma and uh, so do you
Yeah.
want me to go through this one more
443
time?
page.
Huh?
443 page up to 443 page we did.
443 we did, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we go through this one more time? One more, if any of you wants to go through this one more time, we'll go through this. I think we stopped at this, proving the pramana. If it works, it works. Yeah. I think what we'll do, we'll just go through 14 and 15 one more time so that we get a proper hold of the understanding. Yeah, in this verse, Krishna describes how the cosmic wheel keeps on going because of karma alone. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhavaha yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhavaha. Living beings are born of food. Food is born of rain. Rain is born of yajna, that is punya, and yajna, punya, is born of action. The expression born of food cannot, of course, be taken literally since nothing is actually born of food. It refers instead to the food eaten by the person. In Shankara's commentary on this verse, the word bhuktat is added to the word annat, meaning from the food eaten and assimilated. From the food eaten, all living beings with various bodies are born. The food eaten by the parents is converted into the causes for conception of the being, the blood, seed, and so on. Therefore, conception itself is because of food, and food, being the material for it, is the material cause for the anatomical aspects, the physical aspects of the body. Here, the food eaten by the parents is converted into blood and everything, including the ovum and the sperm. And because of this, that the because of conception, the 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 fertilized ovum is what forms into a human being, and it is grown in the mother's womb by the mother eating food. Therefore, the food is a material cause for the physical growth. Krishna then went on to say that the food itself is born from rain. If there was no rain, there would be no food. The entire earth would be a desert and sand would be the only food. The rain, in turn, Krishna said, is born of yajna, your daily prayers, acknowledging the blessings of the devatas. It is true that if you do not perform yajna, rain still comes, but it may not come at the right time or in the right quantities. Like what is happening now all over the world, there's so much of rain and floods and um, yeah. Later, Krishna said that the rain always does its job. And unless you are offering daily prayers, you are not doing yours. It is not uncommon for a person to think that since everyone else is doing it, he or she need not do it. like in chorus singing. If one person does not sing at a given time, nothing is lost because most of the others are singing. Even if one person commits a mistake, it goes undetected because the others are not making the same mistake. Only if everyone were to commit the same mistake at the same time would it become evident. Therefore, chorus chanting always sounds perfect, even though individually there may be problems. Here too, some people offer their prayers and the rain is enjoyed by everyone. However, Krishna likened one who does not do it to a thief. It is not that the rain will not do its job. It is the recognition of the cosmic forces as Ishvara that is important here. When you perform yajna, as when you do your duties, your prayers and so on, then the devatas bless you. For example, the sun has always been said to produce the rain since it evaporates ocean water, which then forms into clouds. And when you do your daily devata yajnas, as all the accrued adrishta, unseen results, go to the appropriate deity, the sun here. Then from the sun, the rains come. This is another way of saying that you invoke the forces and the forces bless you. The rains come at the right time, to the right place, in the right amounts. The unseen result, adrishta, is what is meant by yajna here. A prayer does not produce a tangible result immediately. It produces an unseen result, which in turn produces the tangible result later. Without karma, you can produce neither seen nor unseen results. So therefore, karma is so important in the cosmic cycle. Without karma, the cosmic cycle cannot continue because it is only through karma that you can perform a prayer or a yajna, and that yajna, that it gives you drishta and adrishta phala. We know that the seen result of boiled water cannot be produced without the action of heating the water. Similarly, an unseen result is one that is produced by the action of prayer. This action is what keeps the natural forces, the cosmic ecology going. When it is said here that yajna is born out of karma, yajna is not referring to a ritual because a ritual itself is a karma. To clarify this point, Shankara said in his commentary to this verse that yajna is adrishta, the unseen result. The adrishta is born out of karma and is what produces the result. Only in this way then can it be said that yajna is born of karma. So we understand here that yajna is not exactly karma that is spoken of here, because karma itself is a ritual. Yajna is a ritual and that is itself karma. So what is meant here is that the adrishta phala is yajna. And therefore yajna is born of karma. And where do the karmas, the rituals and so on come from? Answering this, Krishna continued. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. So here, karma, ritual, brahmodbhavam, born of the Veda, Brahma, the Veda, akshara samudbhavam, born of the imperishable Ishvara, the Lord, vidhi, may you understand, tasmat, therefore, sarvagatam, all pervasive Brahma, the Veda, nityam, always, yajne, in yajna, pratishtitam, abides. May you understand karma, that is ritual, prayer, etc., to be born of the Veda, and the Veda to be born of the imperishable Ishvara. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahma, the Veda, abides always in yajna. By karma, Krishna was referring here to the Vedic rituals, Vaidika karma. These rituals, yajnas, are to be understood as coming from the Veda itself, called Brahma in this verse. Although Brahma or Brahmaji is also the name given to the creator in the Trinity, here it refers to the Veda as the cause for karma. Brahma is the Veda that reveals the nature of the karma and therefore becomes its cause. One would not know of the rituals otherwise. Thus it is said that karma is born of the Veda. And how do we know that Brahma is Veda and not the absolute Param Brahma, Brahman, the ultimate truth? The verse says that Brahma is born of Akshara, the imperishable, that which never dies, which is never born. Therefore, Brahma cannot be this absolute Brahman. That Brahma means Veda is confirmed by any Sanskrit dictionary. The Veda comes from that imperishable Brahman. It is also said that the Veda is born as effortlessly as breathing. The Veda is something that reveals the four human pursuits, Purusharthas: security, that is Artha; pleasure, Kama; righteousness, Dharma; and liberation, Moksha. Because it reveals everything that a person requires, the Veda is considered to be omniscient, Sarvagnya. The Veda is born as effortlessly as breathing. Knowledge is not created, it is just uncovered. The Veda is said to be revealed by Ishvara because knowledge cannot be created. Knowledge always is, but it is covered by ignorance. If knowledge were created, the place of creation could only be one of ignorance or no ignorance. If knowledge is created on ignorance, does the ignorance remain? Can knowledge be created on a foundation of ignorance? Or in the wake of knowledge, does ignorance go? And what is this knowledge that is created? If you discover something, is it something that is already there? Or do you create something and then discover it? To create something, you must know it already. You do not create knowledge. Knowledge is already there because it is knowledge of a fact. There is a certain reality, a fact, and the knowledge of it is as true as the reality, as true as the particular fact. Therefore, knowledge is nothing but realization of facts. This means that knowledge is always of what is possible, and so on. Everything is only what is. The future is also what is. The future as a possibility is. This what is what we call knowledge. Like for instance, if we consider the previous example that Swamiji had given earlier, the pot is. Now the pot is no longer there, but the clay is. The clay also you break down further and further. The molecules are. Then the atom is. The electrons is. Or the electron is. Proton, neutron is. And now quantum physics talks of quarks and up quarks and down quarks. So all that is. So you go on and on, dividing it further and further. What is that isness is what is knowledge. So that is never, it is not created. It is always there. You only discover it. The Veda is called Sarvagatam Brahma here because it reveals everything. Sarvartha Prakashakatvat Brahma Vedaha Sarvagatam. Then for Ishvara, all knowledge is always there. In fact, all knowledge is what is meant by Ishvara, the Lord Omniscience. If all knowledge is there, is Ishvara a conscious or an unconscious being? A being is always conscious, An unconscious being is not a being at all. That Ishvara, whose being is consciousness, has omniscience, and this omniscience exists ultimately in the consciousness. The Jiva, the individual who is related to Ishvara, is also a conscious being. And what is the nature of that conscious being, the individual? Is conscious an adjective to being, or is being consciousness? Is there a being other than consciousness? If so, what is that being? How do you recognize it? So when we say the jiva is conscious, are we referring it to as an adjective, or is that being consciousness? These are all profound questions. No? Is there a being other than consciousness? If so, what is that being and how do you recognize it? Why am I not all-knowing? The being is consciousness. Consciousness is being. Therefore, all knowledge exists in the conscious being, in the being that is consciousness. This being the case, why do I not have it? Because of ignorance alone. Ignorance covers the knowledge. Thus, whenever any knowledge is gathered, it is simply a matter of scraping off ignorance. We are just so many scrapers. Thus, scraping through all the time. Scraping off ignorance is what we call getting knowledge. And with reference to knowledge of the empirical world, we do not scrape well at all. One can scrape well only with reference to Atma. Everything else remains either unscraped or a little scrape. It is as though you see some spots on something and then scraping away at them, you gain a scrap of knowledge. A thesis may be written on one of these spots for which the person receives a PhD degree. Then afterwards, someone else comes along and again covers up what was scraped off by proving that the previous person did not really scrape at all. With this person also gets a PhD. The scraping process can continue only because there is no bottom line, no last word in any empirical field. For instance, initially when we were in physics in school, we learned that atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. But now that knowledge that we learned is completely, it's become obsolete. Now what is understood by quantum physicists is that it is all made of waves, wavelengths. It is all fields. There is no electron, proton, neutron that exists. So the whole knowledge itself is taking a different turn. So in the empirical world, there is no end to the scraping. You'll go on and on, can build on new theories, and new knowledge keeps cropping up. New understanding, I wouldn't say new knowledge, new understanding keeps cropping up. Whereas only in the field of the self, only with respect to self-knowledge, can the scraping be total. Only in the self is a total scraping possible because you are talking about the whole that has no parts. Any part always has further parts, which have further parts ad infinitum. This is the nature of empirical reality. Empirical reality here is the Jagat, is the existential, the manifest reality. Whereas Atma is the partless whole. Thus, a total scraping is possible with reference to oneself, the Atma. All of this, of course, is, by the way, given the focus of our present discussion. The conscious being has all knowledge, and this knowledge is covered by ignorance, ajnana. Because of this ajnana, people are samsaris, limited beings given to various problems. Nevertheless, knowledge is always there. It was never created. Ignorance also is not created. All that is created is error. opinion, belief, unreasonable statements, any speculative form of knowledge, and so on. For example, sitting in an easy chair, one can continue to write about God. Error, of course, is not created deliberately. It is born of a given intellect with all its limitations, whereas knowledge is never born, never created. So this error is what we call the misapprehension. That is the mithya, the seeing the snake on the rope. That is the error. Thus, the Veda is
I
a
think
body.
the error is perception.
Yeah, misapprehension. No, you are considering, you are taking what is to what you see is not what is. It is what you think it is.
Like the blind people explaining the elephant.
Elephant. Or superimposing the snake over the rope. Thus, the Veda is a body of knowledge that is not attributed to a given author. There is no founder. It is not historical, and therefore we accept it as revealed. There is a Veda as history argument propounded by some, but according to the tradition, it is not valid because for something to have its basis in history, it has to have been born of a certain intellect. And whatever is born of a given intellect has all the limitations of that intellect. Knowledge is not born of a given intellect. It is something that is uncovered and handed over. All we can say about the Veda is that it is a body of knowledge that is revealed. And as a means for one to gain the knowledge as a pramana, it works. Its very words are the pramana, shabda pramana. A pramana can produce two types of knowledge, indirect or mediate knowledge, that is paroksha jnana, and direct or immediate knowledge, aparoksha jnana, depending upon the subject matter to be known. If the pramana talks about a heaven, the knowledge is purely indirect knowledge. When you have faith, shraddha in the pramana, the knowledge is indirect. Otherwise, you simply accept what is said, which is only a belief, not knowledge. This is something that I didn't quite understand. So when you have faith, shraddha in the pramana, the knowledge is indirect. It becomes paroksha jnana. Otherwise, you simply accept what is said, which is only a belief, not knowledge.
Like what is happening with us now? We are understanding it, but actually not experiencing it.
No, here in the beginning, he said knowledge is direct and indirect, right? Paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana. That is understood. There, in the indirect knowledge, he said was, if the pramana talks about a heaven, the knowledge is purely indirect knowledge. Because it is not immediate, you do not experience that heaven. But when you have faith, shraddha, it becomes indirect knowledge. If you do not have shraddha, it only becomes a belief. It is not knowledge then. And this belief, like initially he said earlier, is like an error. It is still seeped in ignorance. No? So see, there is that. Yeah, all that is created is error, opinion, belief, unreasonable statements. Ignorance also is not created. All that is created is error, opinion, belief, unreasonable statements, and any speculative form of knowledge and so on. So belief is also considered as coming under Ajnana. Whereas when you have Shraddha, that element of Shraddha, from what I understand, converts that the Shabda Pramana into indirect knowledge.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah. For an
And
example,
that is intuitive. And that is intuitive. That Shraddha, no? Cannot be created or cannot be. It has to come through your inner intuition,
may not be, because once you get some pramana, like for instance, uh, in Papa Punya, Karma, all this theory used to be just academic for me, or it was just a belief, whether to believe in it or not. That confusion was there always. But when I studied astrology and when I started seeing the exact replica, what is happening in my life, and it is shown in my chart, then I started believing in this theory, because I got some pramana in that science. Yes, the karma theory works. I mean, it does exist. Otherwise, it was just, people would say, this is all because of your past karma. I've not seen my past lives, or I don't even know that I'll be taking rebirth. So this was just a belief, right? But when I started studying astrology, I started seeing my life in that science. Yes, something which can be seen tangibly. Then I started believing in these things strongly. It is still a belief, I feel. But
No, but
I started having a faith now. Like, yeah, this is true. I mean,
no.
karma theory, especially
You
the
see,
karma theory.
you started studying astrology, you told. But how did you start it? Because you had that little tinge of faith in it. Otherwise, you are not could not have studied at all.
That's true, because I was on the
See,
edge.
that
Like,
created the knowledge again.
no, this
Shraddhavan
was
labhate jnanam.
correct,
That is
but
different
this
thing.
was on the edge. I never negated that this may not be true, or this may.
See,
Hmm,
that is intuition. I am telling that part, the little part, that comes from you, within you. Otherwise, everyone would have studied the astrology. You understood it. That is Shraddha, and that Shraddha only has given you this knowledge. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Again. It's very good.
So it is with when you have Shraddha, that becomes a paroksha jnana. Otherwise, it only remains as a belief. Here, we cannot play with words. English has its own limitations. Shraddha is the English translation for the word Shraddha, you don't really have. The closest you can go is belief, but this belief is also not actual Shraddha. Like, for instance, because we have Shraddha in the Bhagavad Gita, in that Bhagavad Gita is a moksha shastra, is that why we are pursuing it? Otherwise, it will only be a belief. It will only be a scripture that Arjuna has given his advice. Sorry, Krishna has given his teaching to Arjuna, and that is it. It will only remain at that level. Only when you have the belief, have the Shraddha, not belief. I shouldn't call it belief.
Yes.
Yeah, only when you have that Shraddha does that actually that paroksha jnana start happening.
That is
Otherwise,
that adrashta the thing it is, that Shraddha, that is that what is intuitive, that adrashta thing, which makes you to believe, starts. Then that little spark of Shraddha only will give you the knowledge. And that comes from what is samskara, we can say.
yeah.
Otherwise, it cannot. And that is that inner core of yours, that something is there which is making me, which we have come here. You start the believing in the unseen, that adrashta, that is Shraddha, that intuitive feeling within you. Otherwise, you would have not come at all in this path at all. With that little spark itself is giving you the knowledge, you see. Otherwise, it would have been belief only.
Yeah.
And that is that Shraddha. I think Guruji has said that, I will tell you once I read it, but that is that inner feeling, which you only have to find it. No one can make it. Whatever you say, therefore, whatever you want to convince, they will not be convinced unless they have that inner feeling of adrashta phala, that intuitive thingness. Otherwise, they will not even listen. Otherwise, it will just a belief and not knowledge. that Shraddha itself will convert into knowledge. And that comes from samskara, only samskara. Our good punya, this. That's what that adrashta phala. And adrashta phala data. We are praying for that, to have that. If you don't have the Shraddha, we will not even say that he is adrashta phala data, Ishvara. That thing has to be there.
Yeah. Proving the pramana, if it works, it works. Similarly, when the pramana says there are devatas, it is indirect knowledge. For instance, when the Veda talks about a ritual that invokes a particular devata that will produce a certain result, the knowledge is indirect. When you perform the ritual and it produces the expected result, you understand that it has been verified that it works. Homeopathy and ancient systems of medicine that have not been scientifically validated are other examples of indirect knowledge. In other words, the only proof that something works is that it works. All we know about the rituals enjoined by the Veda is that they work, for which there is statistical proof. This applies to all scriptures in the world. This prayer may work or that prayer may work. You can dismiss an African tribesman as a heathen. But when he dances for rain, the rains, I am told, often come. Therefore, we say that his rituals work. God understands his mumbo jumbo as well as he understands ours. In fact, for God, there is no such thing as mumbo jumbo. For him, everything is meaningful. Even if you blabber, he picks up your intention. The Veda, however, when it talks about what is, does not lend itself to speculation. It talks about
here, that blabber, when baby blabbers, mother understands it.
Yeah. So
that is the way it is.
Attitude is important. The intention and attitude is important.
Not the language or mumbo jumbo or prayer or what is this. That inside feeling, that is goes into the faith. That is not Shraddha. Baby believes in mother and mother knows what he needs. Whether he blabbers or he cries or whatever it is. That is what is that inner adrashta, this one.
The Veda, however, when it talks about what is, does not lend itself to speculation. It talks about you, the self, I, which is already an evident being. If there is confusion about that being, the resolution of that confusion is immediate knowledge, direct knowledge. Because this knowledge is direct knowledge, there is no comparison possible between the Veda, what the Veda says, and what any other revealed body of knowledge says, unless, of course, they are both saying the same thing. If both revealed bodies of knowledge have the self as a subject matter and are saying that the self is the whole, then they are saying the same thing. This knowledge, the knowledge about the reality of the self, does not belong to any territory and is what we call Vedanta. The strength of the Veda. In the vision of the Veda, the self is the whole and there is nothing beyond it. If this fact is recognizable, then it is not unreasonable. Because it is reasonable, everything contrary to it becomes unreasonable. That the self is self-evident and is the whole cannot be denied or negated, whereas everything else can be. Therefore, any scripture that makes this statement of fact, regardless of the language it is written in or the people who claim it as their own, is Vedanta. This knowledge, this Veda, is born of Ishvara alone. It is not founded, nor does it have a historical basis. Therefore, it does not have in it the problems of a given intellect. It is simply handed over from one generation to the next. That it has no beginning, no history, that it was not born of a given intellect, should not be considered its weakness. It is in fact its strength. Another important point is that the Veda does not belong to anyone. No individual or culture can claim it. It is simply a body of knowledge belonging to humanity at large. This knowledge is here in the world for all people. The fact that it is maintained in a particular geographical area does not mean that it does not belong to humanity. To think otherwise leads to the notion that the knowledge has been given to a particular person and therefore all wisdom comes through that person. Such notions generate all sorts of expectations and disappointments, the results of which are evident everywhere. Krishna said that the Veda comes from the imperishable, the Lord Ishvara. Because it is born of Parameshvara, the Lord, the Veda is said to abide in the yajna. How is this so? The ultimate cause, Brahman, is all pervasive and also imperishable. From this Brahman alone, the ultimate cause of everything, comes Brahma, the Veda. And from the Veda comes the yajna, as well as its result. From the result alone comes the rain, and from the rain comes the food. From the food come all living beings. The beings do yajna, and out of yajna come the rains and all other results, which in turn lead to more karma. This then is the cycle, the chakra. Brahman is all pervasive because it is both the efficient and material cause, and no effect can be away from its cause. Out of this all pervasive Brahman, the Veda is born, and the cycle described above is set in motion. In this way, everything is born out of Param Brahma. Thus, it is said that Brahman is in the yajna, yajna being born from the Veda and the Veda being born directly from Parameshvara, the Lord. Or, as Shankara puts it, being born of the Veda, yajna is non-separate from the Veda and thus very much in it. And the Veda is non-separate from Ishvara. Therefore, when you perform the yajna, you are naturally in tune with Parameshvara. You also are not away from the Lord. The yajna is looked upon as being immediately connected with Parameshvara. Its words are a revelation of Ishvara. And by performing this yajna, which is a karma, you are propitiating the devatas that are Parameshvara. And what happens if you do not perform such karma? So before we go to the 16th verse, few important things from the last verse are that one is the Vedanta or Veda belongs to everyone. It does not limit itself to any geographical area. The knowledge that is revealed, it is not created. That was born from the Ishvara, Brahman, the ultimate cause. From the ultimate cause is the Veda is born, and from the Veda all the rituals are born. This beautiful cycle is beautiful. I'll just go through the cycle again. From this Brahman alone, the ultimate cause of everything, comes Brahma, the Veda. And from the Veda comes the Yajna, as well as its result. From the result alone comes the rain. And from the rain comes the food. From the food come all living beings. The beings do Yajna, and out of Yajna come the rains and all other results, which in turn lead to more karma. This then is the cycle, the chakra. And this goes on ad infinitum, goes on and on and on. This cycle is never ending. But when you are
In this here, I am reminded of some saints, earlier like Sant Jnaneshwar, Tukaram, and we had our Siddhartha Swami and all that. They fasted for some days if rains are not there. For one day or whatever it is, the rain comes. You see, that is out of the Veda only. They are knowledgeable. They know it, and they pray it, and it occurs. It is a fact that it has been in the Charitra and all that. The rains have come. The tank was full. There was famine. Rains were not there. And the saint prays, it comes. That is Yajna again. So we can read again that cycle. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, from the Brahman alone, the ultimate cause of everything, comes Brahma, the Veda. From the Veda comes the Yajna as well as its result. From result alone comes the rain. And from the rain comes the food. From the food come all living beings. This Annad Bhavanti Bhutani. Parjanyad Anna Sambhavaha. The beings do Yajna. And out of Yajna come the rains and all other results, which in turn lead to more karma. This then is the cycle, the chakra. And because of this, the cycle, the way everything is, the sequence, Brahman is there is Yajna. There's nothing different. He is there in every Yajna. Therefore, when you perform the Yajna, you are naturally in tune with Parameshwara. You are also not away from the Lord. This explains why I used to have this doubt that when the Lord has created both opposites, pairs of opposites, good and bad and everything. So why should we follow only good? Was the question. I had this, I could not resolve it earlier. But now it is in tune. Only when you do things which are dharmic, which are according to what is prescribed by the Veda, you are in tune with Lord, with Parameshwara. Otherwise, you're out of tune.
That is what our rhythm, rhythmic breathing, what we do, that's also in Yajna. When we are rhythm with the natural rhythm of the God, then that everything is really revealed.
Jai Gurudev. I'm relating this yajna to it is like the action which is performed at the right time, or like the action which is to be done. Is it in that manner we will take this yajna? It's not at the all the rituals we are doing. It's like the actions, the right actions which we have to do at the right time.
Yeah, it is both. I think it is both the rituals that are prescribed by the Veda, as well as what is to be done by you at that given point of time and place. Basically, what we're talking of, we've not still come to that. You're doing a swadharma is also a yajna.
Yeah, because this line is saying the beings do yajna, and out of yajna comes the rain and all other results. So it means that like what we are doing, the actions which we are doing, the results will come, and then again we'll do more karma, and then again more actions. So this cycle will go on.
Yeah.
Now what we are doing is also an yajna. Therefore it is called Jnana Yajna, whenever Gita, Jnana Yajna. So it is tuned with the adrashta phala, that yajna, So it is, I think, everything, if it is in tune, is called an yajna. Almost.
So what happens if you do not perform such karma? Evam, I'll just read the last few words. Yeah, it's words. Therefore, you are not away. Therefore, when you perform the yajna, you are naturally in tune with Parameshwara. You also are not away from the Lord. The yajna is looked upon as being immediately connected with Parameshwara. Its words are a revelation of Ishvara, and by performing this yajna, which is a karma, you are propitiating the devatas that are Parameshwara. Like, for instance, it's not just rituals, no, Savitaji? If you look at the previous, yesterday we read, all the cosmic forces are nothing but Ishvara, are devatas, manifestations of Ishvara. So it is when you wake up along with the sun, or before sunrise, and you're welcoming the sun, that itself is like a prayer. So you're respecting time, you're taking care of all the cosmic, the 5 elements, Panchamahabhutas, all that is also yajna. So it is not just ritualistic yajna that is mentioned in the Veda, but everything else also comes under that. And what happens if you do not perform such karma? Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayurindriya ramu mogham partha sajivati. Partha, O Partha, yaha, the one who, iha, here in this life, evam, in this manner, pravartitam, already set in motion, chakram, the cosmic wheel, na anuvartayati, does not follow, aghayuhu, one who lives in sin, indriya ramaha, one who is given to sensory pleasures, saha, that person, mogham, wastefully, jivati, lives. A person who does not live here in this life according to the cosmic wheel that is already set in motion in this manner, and lives in sin, given only to the pleasures of the senses, lives wastefully. If you perform yajna, the devatas are all pleased, and you work in harmony according to the order, referred to here as the cosmic wheel chakra. There is a mutual benefit here that is inherent in the order that is already set in motion. The whole universe, the whole planetary system operates by mutual attraction. Every planet, the sun, the moon, and the earth move in their respective orbits because of the force of attraction that keeps the whole system going. Otherwise, it would collapse. When you look into any nucleus, you find that the motion of the particles operates in the same way. Similarly, certain proteins attract certain other proteins. Structurally, they are all attracted to each other. Certain bugs attack only certain things, all because of protein structures. In this way, the entire cosmos is nothing but a force of attraction operating in a most intelligent manner. Living beings who are not mere physical entities are conscious beings mutually related to the Devatas. Since this is how the order is set up, you recognize them, acknowledge them. The chakra spoken of here is much more than a cosmic wheel. It not only includes the physical world, it includes everything. This chakra, this order, is set up as it is by Ishvara, the efficient and material cause of it all. Seeing beyond the sense organs. Aghayu is a person whose life is nothing but agha, papa, sin. In this verse, such a person is also called Indriya Rama, meaning one who lives only at the level of the sense organs and therefore does not perceive anything beyond the eyes, nose, and ears. The origin of these functionaries is never questioned by such people. The eyes are there and therefore they feast. These are people who are given to sensory pleasures alone. Those who live in this way, who do not follow the chakra, the wheel that is the order, live wastefully, Krishna said here. Everything that is given to these people lays waste. Such people waste their lives and live without any purpose, drifting along without anchor or roots. The depth and understanding that a human being is supposed to have is not there for an Indriya Rama. Whenever there is this kind of criticism in the Gita, its purpose is only to direct your attention to what is to be done. You are to push this wheel, this chakra, knowing that you are a cog in it, someone who is important in maintaining the order. Do what you have to do. By so doing, it keeps going. To think that by not doing what you have to do, the order will not be disturbed is not proper, as the following story demonstrates. There was once a king who thought that his citizens were all excellent people, but his chief minister, a very intelligent man, could not agree with him. He knew that while by and large they had a good kingdom, there were probably some thieves among them. They simply did not hunt down every last one of them. There are always some petty thieves around, even if they only pick their own pockets for practice. Knowing this, the minister could not concur with the king that every citizen was upright. To prove who was right, the king or himself, the minister erected a huge tank with a ladder to the top. He issued a decree that every citizen was to deposit 1 ounce of milk into this tank. Dutifully, the people all lined up to add their milk to the tank. When they had all done their duty, the minister said to the king, "Let us go and see whether the milk in the tank is pure or whether it is somewhat watered down." What they found was not pure milk, not even thin milk. Only water was there, without so much as a trace of white in it. The king then asked the minister whether he had asked the people to put milk or water into the tank. The minister confirmed that he had said milk. "But how can this be?" the king asked. The minister then explained to him that each person, thinking that his or her water would make no difference in so much milk, opted not to give any milk at all. This shows that if you think that you do not need to do what has to be done because everyone else will do it, and if that is the thinking of everyone, everything comes to a halt. And if all but one person does do what is to be done, the one who does not do it and who partakes of the benefit becomes a cheat. This is very beautiful, no? This example. Similarly, with respect to prayer, with respect to your own swadharma, with respect to rituals, homas, now I understand why Gurudev is continually performing homas and all that. It is for the greater good. The homas that he does, it affects everyone positively. But a person who partakes of it without actually doing what is to be done becomes a cheat.
It is similar to I taking your money without asking you. You know, there is a cheat or a thief. So we are taking everything from the universe and we are not asking, you are not even paying, we are not even grateful for that. So that becomes a thief only now. So good it is, really.
Ecology always starts with you. This is true in any system, be it a small community, a factory, a society, the world, or the entire universe. The same psychology, the same law applies and is all that ecology is about. Live and let live, and recognize what the contribution is. This is what makes a person sensitive. Such a person is not an ordinary person, and it is here that one's attention is to be drawn. Ecology starts with one person, and that person is you. It never starts with someone else. If you start with yourself, there is no problem. Whenever you count yourself first. Counting yourself first is not selfishness, as we shall see. So a person, the previous verse is that a person who does not do this, does not follow the rituals, or does not do what is to be done, becomes a slave, is a slave to his indriya rama, and he lives his life wastefully. Yastvat maratirev syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Two, whereas yaha manavaha, the person who atmaratihi eva, delights in the self alone, atmatriptaha cha, and is satisfied with the self, atmani eva, in the self alone, santushtaha cha, and is contented, syat, would be, tasya, for him, karyam, work to be done, na vidyate, does not exist. Whereas for the person who would delight in the self, who is satisfied with the self, contented in the self alone, there is nothing to be done. If karma has to be done in order to keep the cosmic wheel going, does everyone have to perform it? And since some people do gain moksha, does this mean that karma becomes the way to moksha after all, and jnana, knowledge, has nothing to do with it? Krishna had already said that karma yoga does not produce moksha directly. Therefore, he had to address this doubt here. If karma were the means for moksha, then everyone would have to do karma only as a yoga. But karma yoga is not the means for moksha, let alone the only means. It is the means for antakarana shuddhi, purification of the mind. Jnana is the only means for moksha, meaning that there is no kartavya. There is nothing that has to be done. If knowledge is the means for moksha and the person gains that knowledge, then there is nothing else for him or her to do. There is no kartavya because the person is not bound by any karma, knowledge having destroyed the doer. Without the doer, no action is done. Knowledge destroys doership completely. If someone is addressed as a doer, who is that? Who is it that responds? Only a person who takes himself or herself to be a doer. The one who is not a doer is not addressed at all and therefore, of course, does not respond. Whereas in the present verse is to distinguish the non-doer from the doer. Shankara calls the non-doer Sankhya here, meaning one who has self-knowledge, a sannyasi. Such a person is a Sthita Prajna, as we saw in chapter 2. For this person, there is no doubt, error, or vagueness with reference to I, the Atma. In order to become happy in oneself with oneself, a person has to become steadfast in the knowledge of Atma. This is not possible for a person who looks upon Atma as a samsari, a limited, sorrowful, sinful person. The moment such a person thinks of himself or herself, he or she is unhappy because Atma is looked upon as a doer, an enjoyer, as one who has limited knowledge, an imperfect person, a sinner, and so on. Because he or she cannot be happy in the Atma, the person has to look towards something other than the self and must manipulate the world or the mind in order to gain even a small degree of happiness. An enjoyer, bhogi, manipulates the world, and a yogi manipulates the mind. A bhogi is one who looks upon the world as something to be enjoyed and who goes about manipulating situations, manipulating the world to create conducive situations wherein he or she can discover a moment of joy. The situation thus created pleases the person, but only for the time being, whereupon the process of manipulation must begin again. A yogi, on the other hand, is one who does not manipulate the world. Such a person is concerned only with his or her thoughts, contending that the pleasurable mental disposition picked up by the bhogi through manipulating the world can be created straight away in the mind. Thus, the yogi goes about manipulating the mind, whereas the bhogi goes about manipulating the world. There is yet another person, the rogi, who is so diseased that he or she cannot manipulate the world, much less the mind. Such a person cannot keep himself or herself in good humor because of the pain of illness, nor is he or she healthy enough to manipulate the world. Becoming is a problem. Yogic postures, asanas, breath control, pranayama, and so on, all create a certain conducive situation wherein the yogi can pick up a moment of joy. The bhogi, of course, manipulates the world for enjoyment, and the rogi is unable to do anything in order to enjoy. The point here is that all three of them look upon the Atma as something that has to become something. This becoming creates a lot of problems. Any becoming is unbecoming because it always requires yet another becoming. Thus, becoming is nothing but continuous becoming. Before becoming, there are nothing but problems. While becoming, there is a lot of pain. And after becoming, the person has to become something else again. The problem is therefore never solved. A person who looks upon the Atma as imperfect is always in trouble and is therefore a samsari, whereas the person described in this verse, an Atma Rati, is one who always revels in the Atma. The joy that reveling in the Atma implies does not require anything other than oneself. No object, no situation, no person is required for the happiness of such an Atmarati. This means that the self cannot be imperfect, that it is the very essence of happiness and fullness. If the essence of Atma happens to be fullness, Purna Swarupa, and if this is known to the person, then he or she is one who is steadfast in the knowledge of oneself, Atma Jnana Nishtha. In order to be happy with oneself, one has to have knowledge, jnana, of Atma as fullness. Generally, one who picks up a moment of joy does so with reference to some object or situation, either outside in the case of a bhogi or inside in the case of the yogi. The only difference between the two is that the yogi does not require any tools except himself or herself. A yogi's raw material is an agitated mind. If this is there, yoga, which is a discipline, can be practiced. If the mind is not agitated, yoga is not required at all. Thus, the yogi's joy is also with reference to an object, the mind, even though it is not available to the senses. In order to be a person whose joy is in the Atma, one has to be awake to the Atma. The person who is steadfast in the knowledge of oneself and Atma Jnana Nishta is one whose happiness is within oneself and not in internal or external objects. Krishna also described this person as Atma Tripta, one whose satisfaction is in oneself. Nothing more is required for a person to be satisfied. Everyone wants to be satisfied. This is not satisfying at all, we say. And then we continually seek situations that will satisfy us. And Atma Tripta, however, discovers joy in the Atma, in the self, and thereby satisfies himself or herself with the self alone. Generally, we satisfy ourselves with something else. But here, with the knowledge of the Atma, the person is satisfied with himself or herself. I think I will read this next few paras till the next verse, and then we'll do some manana on this. Happiness is with the self alone. People pick up a moment of happiness when an external object desirable to them is gained. Whereas for the Atma Jnana Nishta, not being dependent on the gain of any external situation or objects, happiness is with the self alone. This means that such a person is free from any longing to be secure, to be happy, and is therefore a sarva karma sannyasi, a jnani, one who looks upon himself or herself not as a doer or an enjoyer, but as pure consciousness, that is Atma. For this person, there is no karma to be done. He is happy with himself. Atmani eva santushtaha. For a person who already has this knowledge, the Veda with all its enticing words is as useful as a well when the well itself is under water. The wise are in no way enjoined by the Veda to do anything. This is an important point of clarification since the Veda prescribes daily and occasional rituals in such a way that people think there is no way for anyone to escape them. It is true that everyone performs action, even a jnani, but the jnani does not look upon himself or herself as a doer. For such a person, there is no doership, and therefore the Veda does not enjoin any action. The jnani is not even addressed, in fact. Only the ajnani, one who looks upon himself or herself as a doer, is addressed. It is like calling someone by name, Rama, please come here. Only Rama will come. Krishna will not come, nor will John. Similarly, it is only the ajnani, the doer, who is being addressed by the Veda. Oh, doer, please perform this action. Only the person who looks upon himself or herself as a doer is bound by karma. Thus, karma yoga is not meant for a jnani, but for the ignorant, the ajnani alone. Karma yoga is enjoined for the ignorant because without it, you cannot acquire the knowledge. Thus, karma yoga becomes the indirect means for gaining the knowledge, that is moksha. Here too, a doubt may arise. If knowledge of the Atma can only be gained by an inquiry into the pramana that gives this knowledge, why should I bother about karma yoga? After all, karma yoga is not the means for knowledge. It is only the means for antakarana shuddhi. But can you inquire into the pramana and gain the knowledge if your mind is not prepared? The antakarana, the mind, is where the knowledge has to take place. Thus, preparing the mind is necessary and is accomplished by karma yoga. This is why Krishna kept telling Arjuna to perform action, karma kuru. And again, this is why he told him that both the lifestyles, karma yoga and sannyasa or jnana yoga, are meant for moksha. The ritual of sannyasa can be performed for the sake of knowledge, but that does not mean that simply by taking sannyasa you will achieve naishkarmya, actionlessness. Without knowledge, there is no naishkarmya. Throughout the Gita, this was Lord Krishna's contention. The next verse describes the person who knows that he or she is not a doer. This is verse 18. So we'll stop here, page 450. So I think it's open. Let's share our takeaways and share.
Hari Om. Just want to share a few thoughts in this. During the course of today's session, there have been opinions like ritual. There was also an opinion or a question talking about, is every ritual that we make, is it a yajna? One madam was asking. And there were opinions on that. Here I wish to share, whether you call it a ritual or yajna, depends on with what bhavam you do. If you are doing, for example, you are making food for someone at home. When you are preparing food, if you are happy, if that person asks you for one extra roti or one extra helping of rice or curry, and you do it happily, that is yajna. If that person asks you for an extra roti, oh, daily he eats 3 rotis. What's wrong with him asking for a 4th one today? And you do, is ritual. Yeah, Bhagavan Bhava Priyaha. It's been said in many occasions by many learned people. It is the bhava that makes an action, I would say action. The action will be considered a ritual or a yajna, is based on our bhava.
Yeah, 1 second, Prem, before you continue. This ritual, you've given a great example, but I don't think you can name that as a ritual if he's doing it without the proper attitude. Ritual here is, what I understand, is the nitya naimitika karmas that are given by the Veda, that are given by the Shastra.
Even that needs, needs the devotion and shraddha, right? Without that, you do something like you are doing a yajna like you are doing putting samidhas and ghee in the agnihotra with the right hand, and for example you are watching WhatsApp messages, for example, with the left hand. That is what I mean. There, you are just being ritualistic. Means, okay, I'm doing it for the sake of doing. That is what I meant, not to demean
mechanical.
a particular
What you meant
action.
was, mechanical, or
exactly.
that's what. Yeah,
That is why I made a
clarity.
further statement that Bhagavan Bhava Priyaha.
Mm.
Again, we have sloka, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. It does not mean that you give a bucket of water to Bhagwan and he's happy. There, what he said was not I am happy with the Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. That is, the deeper meaning is, with devotion, you offer me the best of the fruit which is very rare, or as ordinary, as simple as a spoon of water or a leaf from your balconies, any plant, but the devotion is important. I'm happy. He said some offering along with devotion is something that makes me pleased. That is what he said. Again, here, if you dissect further into it, the scientists, that is what they do, right? Dissect further to know further. If we look at spirituality, why does the Lord need a spoon of water and a leaf also from us? No, it is to inculcate that bhava of devotion, saying, out of my devotion and love, O Lord, I am offering this to you. Again, if we connect, it is the Kanakadhara Astavam, like Kanakadhara Stotram. What is the story behind it? Adishankara went for Bhiksha. That old lady did not have anything except one amalaka, one, what is that, gooseberry. She just gave that. There, she gave him all that she has, her entire wealth, or her entire eatable stock is that one gooseberry that she gave. That is devotion. Then what happens in return is there is a rain of golden amlakas to her. That is what we have to take it as a bhava. So every ritual, cooking food for our own people. I'm just taking cooking food as one example. Or someone wants something from us, either even within the family. I don't want it, but they want it. Okay, let me do this for them with devotion, not with this guy or this lady always wants it. No, but do it. Spend that much of energy, time, and devotion towards them. That is also yajna. That is what we have to. And talking about the yajna and rain coming, which Brahma explained very well from the Swamiji's commentary. See, again here, when that was going on, I didn't want to disturb the flow, though, so I just kept my thoughts. Now I just want to share. Doing again, the people who dissect the acts and the question, they say, I do a homa, I do this one, put so much of ghee and wood and all that in fire, waste so much money. Will a rain come? Yes, it will come. What does science say? What is your process of cloud seeding? Cloud seeding may succeed or may not succeed, but a yajna, which is also a cloud seeding, all the small particles that raise from the homagundam will go up to the space. So that is where they act as a scrub to the atmospheric pressures up there, some process happens and rain comes. Yajna is a 100% guarantee. That yajna, that homam is a 100% guarantee that there will be rain, whereas your cloud seeding is only 50-50. The scientists themselves say cloud seeding is not guaranteed. So this is how, if we feel like educating people, we can say. If not, smile and get going. You cannot explain everything to all the 8 billion people in the on the earth. That is one. And now I take an example of a doctor. People who question the rituals or anything, like a doctor. You go to a doctor, you take your sick child. Immediately, the doctor says, "Okay, he's having fever. He's having this. Okay, do this test, this test." And once the test comes, I'll give you a medicine. Up to such time, I'll give some temporary 1, 2, 3, 4, some action. Then you will think, "Arey, there is a fever. My child is suffering. Why does she not give it a paracetamol? Why does she not give?" From our Google knowledge, Google University, we say, why she is not giving this, that. We do not know that here in the medical parlance, there is something called protocol. They will follow the protocol, and as per protocol, whatever is the outcome, based on the outcome of the tests and results, what is needed, that will be prescribed and the treatment will be given. In the same way, our rishis, What they did not put any patent or a trademark, and they didn't hide the knowledge. One generation passed to the next. So that way, what we enjoy today as the so-called, in inverted commas, the rituals or whatever, is the essence and the filtered down knowledge of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of that experimentation, trials, errors, and all that, and the final result, which says you do this and this will definitely happen. That kind of a stage may they have handed it over to us, which unfortunately in a couple of hundreds of years got diluted but not lost, and we are lucky for that. So what we need to do is, we need to, when a doctor gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 antibiotics, will you question, doctor, what does this do after it goes into my child's stomach? How does it open up? How does it work? Will you question? No. You just take that medicine in that dose at that time, before breakfast, after breakfast, whatever the doctor says. In the same way, our spiritual doctors, the rishis, what they have prescribed through the Vedas, which are Apaurusheya. Vedas are revelations, not any human beings' written books. The Rishi is only the pen that has written. The knowledge has come from somewhere else. So we have to just, the real Vedic knowledge, wherever we get it from, and from that, whatever is required to be done for us, just do. Dasharatha did not question the Putrakameshti Yagam. He did it and he got children in the same way. So this is what I thought. If we keep talking and discussing about this itself will go into few hours of sessions, because in our Vedas and in our knowledge, in one sentence, even on each shloka of Bhagavad Gita, there can be a material enough to obtain a PhD. I'm sure nobody can dispute that. Such a depth of knowledge. That is why even the Bhagavad Gita we keep reading. You finish after all the 18 chapters, we still do again. Why did we decide to do it again? Because every time we read, we get new revelation. That high knowledge, it's not easy to understand. We need to trust that it will happen and follow that particular ritual, not looking for the result, then result will come. It is like you drop it, then result will come. You cling to it, it will go away. This is how the cosmic secrets work. This is what I thought. I took a lot of time, but this is the shortest time in which I can talk about this. Otherwise, it goes into hours. This is a deep subject. Hari Om.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prem. It was nice.
Very beautiful. Very nice. Dhanyavad.
Really very apt.
Anyone
Very,
else
very
want to
useful.
share? We'll keep it open for another 5 minutes or so, because let everyone also share their takeaways before we close today's session.
I agree with Prem, and one thing that I noticed in the ashram, when the Rudra Puja and all this is being performed, there are these small Veda boys who come also, all of them, a lot of them, and they start chanting. And sometimes I find that they do mischief amongst themselves, like, poking their elbow into another sitting next to them and all that. So there, what he talked about, the ritual being performed as a ritual and the vow behind it. Children are bound to be mischievous. So till the eyes of the main priest, head priest falls on them, and they continue that mischief kind of between them. So there definitely is there a little bit of a difference between the attitude, how we perform the yagya, the puja.
That is why Gurudev also says, when the homas are being performed, it is not, the person who performs is also very important. If he's a person who's meditating, the homa actually has its significance. The result will be according to what is prescribed. But whereas a person who is just doing it mechanically, like in so many of the temples you find, the Purohit is actually doing the Ashtotram, but he's doing 100 other things. that is not um, that is not the proper attitude. Apart from all of this, that the Veda is the pramana, and that beautiful cycle is what I think we should remember, and that when we are performing our daily rituals, prescribed rituals by the Vedas, as well as what is to be done by us, with that proper attitude, we are in tune with the Lord. And we will feel happy, isn't it? If I remember in the beginning, in the introduction, so Swamiji had mentioned, when you follow the dharma, you have that beautiful, the joy, inner joy. If you have been postponing cleaning up your shelf for a long time, and you finally clean it up, the joy that you get out of that is being in tune with Ishvara. So everything, I think, like Savita ji mentioned, it does not necessarily mean only Nitya Naimitika karmas. They are of course important. Along with that, all our other activities, even taking a bath, for instance, brushing your teeth, taking a bath, if we can bring in that sanctity into every aspect of our life, that itself becomes a yajna. Basically, boiling it down, living every moment to the full, living in the present moment is actually being in yajna.
I
Or
like
maybe
the
we can say in another word, giving 100% for
Correct.
every kamra we are doing.
Right.
Karma.
Being 100% in whatever you do.
Yeah,
So
and
while-
aligning ourselves with the natural rhythms, natural cycle of a sun, of the seasons, and of everything. Is that so much benefit we get that we cannot really fathomaize all the aspects. Small thing I want to mention here. In early 80s and all, there was not much awareness of this Agnihotra and its effects and this and that. But the people who were performing this Agnihotra regularly, only those houses were saved from that the nuclear, this thing, one factory of that Eveready batteries got the blast in Bhopal Kand. And whatever came out through that, people instantly died, and many people for so many years, 10, 15, 20 years, they were their children were also affected. And those houses where the Agnihotra was formed, the vibrations of those Agnihotras were surrounded in the area of their houses. They were not affected by the leakage of that gas, which was emitted from the chemical factory. So that time the awareness was actually not there in the general public about the Agnihotra and its protection. But see, it can really so much protect you, all these small rituals. And the effect of it is multiple, which we cannot fathomize. That's what I wanted to mention. Many people, they question, no, but now the science is acknowledging it, that because they have the instruments now to actually find and measure the effects of all our small rituals. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah, nice.
Brahmanaji, there is one paragraph that says, no, if it is all knowledge is only for the doer.
Yeah.
That is really mind-boggling. You know, if you
Yeah.
think that you are a doer, then do this. Otherwise, you are not doer. Nani. It's such a subtle thing that I think I like that paragraph. Wonderful. In this 17th shloka only, that is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the contrast between Indriya Rama and Atma
Atma.
Rama. Atmarati is beautiful. No, Atmarati is an Atma Jnana Nishta. He does not require anything else, including there's one sentence which says, including inner, outer, external, and internal objects. For a yogi, see, there's those three distinctions between a bogi, yogi, and a rogi. The bogi manipulates the outside world, whereas the yogi manipulates his mind. The mind there is his internal object. So even that is not required for an Atmarati. Atmarati is reveling in himself by himself without the need for any other external, internal source.
Internal organs means even the body. That is the body.
The body,
So you
mind,
don't.
all
No,
of
body.
that is required for him. He's a Siddha
Very good.
Prajna.
It is Uparati also same thing. No? Shad, this in the strengths. They say that Uparati, same Atmarati. Uparati means being with your own.
Yeah.
Rati is dissolving yourself within yourself.
Yeah. So maybe today, as part of our Manana, as continuing Manana after we finish this session, we can look at ourselves and see how much of a bogi we are, how much of a yogi we are, or how much of a rogi we are. Maybe we can categorize ourselves based on different situations. We may not be the same everywhere. So that will make us at least bring into our awareness, where are we, where do we stand, and what else we have to do to chisel ourselves, to fine-tune ourselves, our attitude. Because all of this is about attitude, about fine-tuning our attitude to become karma yogis, true karma yogis.
Adi, I had a question, a doubt. I joined half an hour late, otherwise I would have asked in the beginning. Like in yesterday's session, we discussed about whatever we are eating, our lunch or dinner, we have to do it as before that offering to the god. So here I was wondering, do we have to offer maybe the food we are eating, say maybe one chapati, sabji and all, or we have to be in gratitude, thanksgiving to Lord for what He's given us, or both together?
Yeah, I think it's both together, no? Whatever you offer doesn't matter. It is the attitude with which you're offering. That gratitude itself.
Doing that little prayer itself is offering, no? That is showing of gratitude. That
right.
And if
aham
we want to,
vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashritah. That one.
and if we
Sorry,
offer,
Brahmarpanam Brahmahari.
yeah, and we offer the same food what we are eating to someone else, maybe we go out and give it to somebody.
Yeah,
it's also a kind of offering from the food which I would otherwise be eating. Yeah,
right.
Even what you eat is also an offering.
and
That is also an yajna only. Your mouth is an yajna kunda.
Yeah, but this is where no, the Bhagavan Bhava Priyaha comes. Like, if you do not have gratitude and eat, you are eating for your body. If you have gratitude, you are eating for your body again, but to use your body for something higher. That is again, these are all the subtle things. When you show gratitude and eat, the feeling you get is different. When you think this is my food, I earned it and I am eating, and this is what it is, brings somewhere a sense of pride in you. And when you eat that food, the kind of effect that has on your body or mind is different. You might have certainly observed that. So that is what these are the subtle differences. So doing a small little prayer, whether we know what it makes or whether we don't know what it makes, like I said, the doctor gives you an antibiotic, whether you know how it works or whether you don't know how it works. The moment you swallow it and drink a glass of water, after a certain time, it starts working in the same way. So do that small prayer is something we have to do. We have to teach our children, and we need to spread that in the middle of the group. Also, we do that, and then we eat. Others might ask, "Hey, what are you doing?" Then we can explain. This is in a subtle way, spreading this awareness to others also. Hari Om.
Thank you so much.
Before we close, just one last thing. Today we've taken a lot of time. Is the prayer, how prayer of course has its effect. Now there's a lot of scientific validation. This Japanese scientist who did this experimentation on water, where when you show positive features like you're grateful, you're thankful, you're full of love, the water molecules form into beautiful crystals. And our body is 70% water. So if you're saying a prayer and you're eating, you're not only blessing the food, the molecules over there, but the same thing is also happening within your own body. So therefore you're in tune, you're in that beautiful harmony, the beautiful symmetry that is creation. Whereas if you are complaining, like what Bela said, eating without complaining is also praying. If you're complaining and grumbling and eating, the same very food, the same water molecules become very distorted. That is why they say at dinner table, you have to be in a pleasant atmosphere. You must eat with a pleasant mind.
This
Yeah,
is
so beautiful.
extremely important, actually, just now what Brahmaraji said, no? Because all this experiment and it really, really works. We have seen it even when you sow the seed, and with what attitude and what the way you water it and everything, the way the seed sprouts also is so different. Or they have done the experiment. I will share the video in our group. But the main is attitude, and that thing sets the cells also in our body and in our surroundings, how they are going to act. So extremely important this is. And we were doing just like ritual from childhood without understanding it, but it worked wonders with us, no? Same thing with that Agnihotra which I shared. Small, just 2-3 minutes procedure it is. And sometimes we feel, kya hai isme jane do, chhod do. But then see, those people were only not affected by that gas. So, and their lives were saved, and all others, their generations got affected negatively. So we need to ponder over it and inculcate these things, especially in our next generations. That is very important. Otherwise, the cancer and small children getting so complicated diseases. This is because of this lack. Just pushing the things through the mouth, and how Sureshji said, this is also a Agni Kunda, our mouth, and treat it as with Yajna Bhava. Suddenly the vibrations of the food also changes, our mind and our body also changes. We need to note it down and implement it ourselves and in our families. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
Jai Gurudev. I have been brought up in a house where, even like yesterday, Ramraji was saying, with the cow dung, we would smear the floor, and every day it used to be wood or the coal, chulas were there. Then every day, night, it would be cleaned. Morning, and with the rangoli, and even the chula was, worshipped. Like it would bring up the Agni over there. So it was worshipped. Even the Haldi Kumkum was put in over there every day. Even the water where it was stored, that was cleaned, and again Haldi Kumkum flower would be there on top. So even the preparation of the food was a sacred ceremony, it would be. So the Vishwaishwara, I mean, something they do, right? Putting that, I don't remember, my father-in-law used to do that, perform that. If someone knows that, Vishwaishwara, something they offer food to the Agni every day. So I have seen that thing, and I have been brought up in that environment, and nothing compared. Even the same simple plain dal rice would be so divine tasting.
This is Vaishwanara.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
you are
Vaishwanara.
mentioning.
Sorry, yeah.
That is what, no? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashtritaha. That is what.
15th
Super.
chapter. 15th chapter.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Today we had an extended session, but it was good sharing. But tomorrow onwards, let's make sure maybe we should finish by 6:10 or so that 20 minutes, at least 15 minutes of sharing should be there so that everyone benefits. We'll finish on time tomorrow. Jai Gurudev. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you very much.